Okay, I will try again. I changed the title. I originally wrote, "Why are they removing white men?" And for some reason, and I don't know if that is the reason, the title, I don't know, but for some reason, even though I made this live stream public, nobody saw it. Nobody came around to have a look, so I changed the title to Germanic. Not German, but Germanic men. Now people are joining, so strange how it works. It's very strange. Could it be that YouTube has some code words there, like if you write white men, then you will be censored? Nobody will see what your live stream, nothing. I don't know. But it's funny because I changed the title from white men to Germanic men. And now, suddenly, all of a sudden, the live stream is visible. So very strange and so very telling for what I'm going to talk about here. Why are they removing white men from everything and everywhere? Why? Okay, and I want to thank YouTube straight away for proving my point. Thank you. And we'll get back to that. KP Heathen is here. Good to see you. Grasslands, new country guys, the Anchor Punch Boxing News. Severlon Swearingen, Cheetah Man. Rob is here. Sawyer, Laura. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, I am getting around to making a video on something. It will be based on an article, and if you look at statistics for novelists and prizes, literary prizes, and this was from the USA. Hi there. Yes, I can see you. This was from the USA, but I'm pretty sure it's very similar in other countries. But if you're a white man, you're not going to get any literary prize because statistically, white men are not getting literary prizes anymore. They're all given to people of other demographic groups, so to speak. And that's not how it should be, because it should be based on your books or book. Obviously, it should not be based on your skin color or your gender. So that should be a so-called no-brainer, but apparently it's not. I mean, we have talked about this before, and the official narrative is that you should let other people from other demographic groups get ahead in society and give up everything you have if you're a white male. And I think it's the only group left that that society as a whole. I mean, that we are the people like me. I'm part of a group which is the last group that is okay to be racist against. And we're the last people you can write horrible things about and get away with it. You will even be praised for that. Oh, it's so stunning and brave, So basically, if you're a young white male, you're seen as, and this will sound very depressive, but by your government and so on, you're seen as someone who will work and pay taxes, and you're supposed to do that until you die, so that you're not a burden to the system. And also, of course, now you will be wanted at the battlefield as a soldier in Europe, where you can be killed or injured for life. So yeah, wonderful how that is. And you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of this because I pay so much in taxes, and I know that also my book sales are substituting those many of those who are getting the literary prizes, because they are not selling the numbers that I am selling, but they are getting the prizes. They are always mentioned when these publishers are doing their speeches, um, and it's fucking awful, and I'm sick and tired of it. And it comes to you get to a point where you just look at the whole thing and you say, no, fuck this. I'm not having any more of this. I'm done with this. And also, we know it's not going to change. It's not going to change. So why the hell would I stick around and work myself to death for these people? No. And this is a general thing. Most people are noticing this, and wives and girlfriends to these men are also noticing it. We are struggling, and because of all the strain on us, we are getting depressed. We're getting sick. We're getting chronic pain and so on. And if you have chronic pain, it doesn't matter how tough you are. Well, actually, it matters how tough you are, mentally tough. Because if you're very mentally tough, you will go years and you will just take it. And what that does is that you will end up with anxiety and you will end up with depression because you're a human being. So actually, if you were not that mentally tough, it would be easier because you would be getting out of that at an earlier stage. Now, this is part of a bigger problem, of course. And I think it's about time we start talking about it. Now, the first thing I said here, if you are just joining the live stream now, is that sorry, something in my eye. I just tried, before I went live now, I tried once and I wrote white men instead of Germanic men. And I went live, and apparently the live stream was not visible. And then I changed it to Germanic men. And suddenly it's visible. And you know what? At this point, I'm not going to pretend that that's just a coincidence, a glitch in the system. No, that's YouTube. They have some words there. White men, for instance, that combination probably will just make your content not visible. So this is just so telling. I'm saying we need to talk about this. We need to address this problem because it is proper discrimination. And those fuckers out there, excuse my French. No, any French people here, excuse me for what I just said. I'll try not to curse, okay? I'll try not to curse. I'll be good, yeah? Those people out there who are saying that, well, because of patriarchy, now it's our turn, now it's the colored people's turn, now it's women's turn, and so on. You know what? I'm not the patriarchy, if there is such a thing. I'm not the patriarchy. This guy over there, there's nobody there, it's just some trees, but just to illustrate my point. If there was someone there, some guy, he's not the patriarchy. It's not our fault. Why are we to be blamed? I mean, and there's also this stupid argument that, well, men have been rulers and, uh, dominating other ethnic groups, other demographic groups for since the dawn of time. Now it needs to end. It's not true. Some men, some very few men, have dominated all the other men and the women and everyone, like a tiny minority. We're talking like the king and his friends and his family. That's it. If you went back 500 years, someplace in Europe, and you asked a peasant, a man who's out working on the fields, do you think that he would tell you that, oh yeah, I'm such a dominating force in society? You think he would say that? He wouldn't even know what you're talking about, because he would just be busy making ends meet in the feudal system. So, I'm middle aged. I can just turn my back on everything basically. But I'm I think we need to break through the censorship, break through YouTube's censorship, and break through everything, and address this problem, because it's harming our sons. You know, and these people, you know what? Next time, the next time I hear someone talking about the patriarchy, I will say something along the lines of, you know what? You're right. Let's fight the patriarchy. But first define the patriarchy. Because if they define the patriarchy as men in general, they know nothing about history and nothing about human nature. But if they define patriarchy, you can give things whatever name you want. You can define it as those very, very, very few people who have been in charge. So who will that be now? Well, that's the CEOs of big tech companies. That it's not the politicians. They are just talking. They are just doing a job for those people who own them. It's big tech, big pharma. Like World Economic Forum is basically owned by big pharma companies, and the big pharma companies are controlled by men. So yeah, those men. If we're talking about those very few men, those are the patriarchy. Those are the patriarchy. I agree. But of course, that's not what they're talking about. And how these people when they're walking, strolling through their corridors of power, how they must laugh at the peasants, who are arguing and fighting among themselves against the patriarchy. How they must laugh at those women who are doing their best, not only women, by the way, to put men down. How they must laugh. It's like, well, I heard a story. I don't know if this is correct, but I heard a story about rugby, which is an awesome sport, very tough sport. I heard that it was like it started as a kind of entertainment for the nobles, and they went out into the field and gave the peasants a ball, and they watched as the peasants were fighting over that ball. I don't know if that's true, but if it's a little bit like that, Look at those people, those naive peasants down there. They're those women. They are blaming their men and other men like they are to blame. It's so funny. Um, oh, it's already 4 o'clock. It's time to send them out to the battlefield to be killed. You know. Yeah. So I just wanted to say this because also another thing, segueing. I don't know what that word means, but circling back to my thing, with literary prizes. Well, some people would say you're just not writing. Your writing is not good enough. Well, objectively speaking, I can tell you that that's not true, judging from the reviews from like journalists and so on who are actually reading the books and writing reviews. They are very, very good. And but anyway, I'm not going to get a literary prize. It's because when you look at people receiving literary prizes, as I said, you don't see white men there. It's a little bit different in Norway, I must say. It's a little bit different in Norway simply because we don't have that many people of other ethnic groups than in my ethnic group here, and not many of them are writing books. But of course, if you come to a publishing house in Norway and you have a Pakistani background, for instance, that's the red carpet for you. They will walk you into the publishing house on the red carpet, basically. Okay. Yeah. So it's like, this means also that those literary prizes, they don't mean anything anymore, because now that we know that they're not based on how great the book is, but rather, at least a lot of it is based on the demographic group that the author belongs to. When it's like that, these prizes, they don't mean anything anymore. It's just virtue signaling. So, yeah, okay. So let's see here. I'll scroll up a little bit. Carola, yeah, YouTube will, I don't know, but YouTube, I don't know why YouTube deletes comments, but they do. I have some words in a list, censorship list, you could call it that, but those are obvious words like rude words, right? Like and hateful words, right? Nobody needs to use those, but obviously that's not what the reason. So here, I don't know why YouTube is doing that. Well, I can guess, but I can just say I'm sorry that they delete some comments. Yeah, let's see. Meritocracy. Yes, meritocracy is fair. It's fair. It's like if you go to a market, old-fashioned market, and you need to buy an axe, right? And there are several blacksmiths there. You will buy the best axe, or the axe that you think is the best axe relative to the price, probably. That's meritocracy, and I think that's fair. Dead wolf resistance. I can see your comment. I can see your comment. Let's see here. Yeah, well, yeah, it's funny when you write Germanic. There are associations there to Nazis, actually, because people don't know any better. But the Germanic tribes, I mean, I guess you guys know, but if you ask the common man or woman in the street, who were the Germanic tribes, they wouldn't know. But yeah, I guess white is a little bit wider, but as I said, I tried to use that in the title and nobody could see that live stream. It's funny how it works. Yeah, Orochi Fox says, the vast majority of those in the West who rant and rave about racism and sexism are more ahistoric than anyone else. Those idiots live the oppressive power structures who get away with red rum. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So, okay. So the narrative is that the white man enslaved the African man and took them to the plantations in America. Okay. Yes. Now we know that was horrible. It was extremely cruel. The white man, if we can use that term, they went to Africa. Why did they go to Africa? That's the big question. Because there was already an established slave trade there. Muslim traders, they've been enslaving Africans for centuries, and it was still ongoing. And it's in some places of the world, it still happens. And I don't know if you remember, but those, was it Biden and that old Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi? Those people during when everyone was kneeling and all of that nonsense, and they had this African ribbon or scarf. I don't know if you remember that photo. Anyone remember that? They were kneeling, and it was an apology for the sins of the white man or something like that. But anyway, the funny thing is that the ribbon or the scarf that they were wearing, it's funny how they got Biden to kneel, old man there. Maybe they helped him up. But anyway, that scarf, the colors are the colors of a tribe, or a culture, nation. Not a nation like in a modern sense, but African tribe that were known for slavery. They were that they were in the business of slavery. So, but people don't care. They don't care about facts. So my ancestors, the Vikings, they would go and they would plunder, and they would take people, steal people, and they would sell them to the blue men, which were the Muslim traders. So they would contribute to the slave trade, and that was big business. We can move to. Well, we don't have to move. I looked into, as part of the research of one of my novels, pre-Columbus North America. The native tribes practiced slavery. We can move to Asia. I mean, the Mongols. Slavery is a disgusting habit of the human race. And it's probably never going to stop, never going to end. So it's stupid to blame the white man for slavery. If you blame the white man, you also have to blame any other ethnic group, because all ethnic groups have practiced slavery. As far as I know, there might be some, I don't know, maybe some smaller, more isolated ethnic groups deep in the Amazon rainforest or something that haven't, but the major ethnic groups all have practiced slavery. So it's not correct, and it's wrong, and it's horrible to blame Germanic people, or I thought maybe I should use the word Caucasian, but that's probably in the censored list as well here on YouTube. But it's not good. It's not right to blame white people for slavery. And also, there is no white person alive today, obviously, were involved in slavery. And I also think it's so stupid when people, they look back in their history, and they see that, oh, one of my ancestors were involved in slavery. I must feel guilty now. So silly. It's not your fault if that's the case. It's not your fault. We all have ancestors who did horrible things, and I was lucky in a way enough to have one person in my a relative of mine look into and do proper research in my family tree, like back to the Viking age and before that, and there were so many exciting people there, but also some of them historical people who we know did horrible things. Am I then to be blamed for that? Am I to be feel guilty? No. I can't change that. Let's see here. I'll just scroll up a little bit. Yeah, well, yes. I mean, the things I'm saying here now is obvious, and it's very difficult to argue against it. But there are people out there who will do their best. They will try. And, New World Order. Doesn't the English language have Germanic roots? Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Trying to stick to the point here, to the topic. I mean, when I reply to the comments, Joel says, someone at Google headquarters right now. Oh, we have a Nazi gathering happening on Bjorn Talks. Alert. Yeah. It's all AI, or it's automated. So, no, Google will, they will tell you if they use actual humans, and they will brag about it. Apart from that, when you get a video removed, and it's all automated. Let's see here. Yeah. Now, South Africa, Feyenoord, it's an interesting place. The Zulus, that's one ethnic group, and you have the Boer, which white people from the Netherlands, basically most. Well, isn't that those from the Netherlands? And the Zulu will say this is the black man's land, so we need to take land from the white people, the Boer. Feyenoord, oh, you are Boer, okay. But if it matters who was there first, who was first in what is now South Africa, the Boer or the Zulu? I think Feyenoord will be able to answer that. Because if the Boer was there before the Zulus, I don't think the Zulus can say that this is our land. We need to chase the Boer away. Or as Nelson Mandela was singing, we need to kill the Boer. Last time I checked, it was the Boer. They were there before the Zulus. So, yeah. And, the Khoi is it. Okay. I couldn't remember the name of the ethnic groups that were there before that, but I know that the Zulu would kill, the what they call the Bushmen, or that the Europeans called the Bushmen. So the Zulus would kill those. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it's interesting. Now, I am, of course, disappointed that it's become like this. The argument from the other side is that, well, it's our turn now. Women typically will say that, oh, it's our turn now, But how does it make anything better to replace one? I will admit that, of course, if we go back quite some time in history, you would, women would be ridiculed if they tried to write a book. And they were not supposed to do that. And they would certainly not get a literary prize. But how does it make anything right to do what they're doing now, which is discriminating against white men? Kingdoms and Kobolds, oh yeah. Elon Musk time machines, and yes. So, Angela, baby, Carson, thank you for the donation. You're saying Earth is flat and level with an upward vector. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, the out of Africa theory. It's amazing how that sticks. It's like something very sticky that will always stick to your hand, and you can't wash it off. It's like a sticky problem. We know quite a lot about that. I mean, human history is extremely interesting. And you can test now that we can test and look at DNA. We know quite a lot. We know that as people spread out from probably several different areas, they also interbred. Okay, so if you test a typical person in Europe, Northern Europe, I think it's quite a lot. We have quite a lot of Neanderthal DNA. Is it 2 or 3% or something like that? Might be wrong there, but and you can almost see it. We look more like Neanderthals here in Europe than other ethnic groups. I would say, and but still, people will say, "Oh, everyone came from Africa." Well, we don't know where the first human beings came from, but we do know that we are a mixed species, and it's not like that's a theory that has been proven because we can test the DNA. And there will, at this point, there are people who will they come here and they write, "Oh, we were designed by God," and all of that, and that's very cute. Do you can do that. That's up to you. But in real life, we need to kind of look at the evidence, and it's not true that it's as simple as the out of Africa theory. It's I'm trying to remember they found some remains which kind of challenges the out of Africa theory, that the human species started, or the Homo sapiens started in another area. I can't remember where. But I think the best thing we can say about it is that, apart from the fact that we are a mixed species of mainly Homo sapiens, but also we have other DNA in our makeup. Apart from that, which we don't know where humans started. We don't know. And we need to accept the fact that we actually don't know. So, it's like we start talking about these things, and I remember things I've read, but I can't remember the details. So let's see here. Jasmine, thank you for your comment and your donation. Yeah, certainly Africans not at all suited for the climate up here, and that's probably why we have more Neanderthal DNA up here north, because they were probably more suited to that, and they were interbreeding between the humanoid species. Um, Yasmin says, cold environment does not make you turn white. If that was the case, then the Eskimos would have turned white and instead they got darker. Yes, but I think also it's not, like the Inuit are very, very suited for that climate because basically they're shorter, they're more compact, and they have more body fat actually, which is what you need in that environment. You can't be, if you look at the typical Western African, they are very muscular, and well, they're muscular, but also they have the body fat concentrated in their buttocks actually, which makes sense because in that climate you do not want all the body fat on your upper body and your legs and so on. You don't want it there. That would be make life more difficult in a warm climate. So yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert at in this matter. I think none of us are, but it would be extremely interesting to talk to someone who actually is an expert on this. And what experts will tell you, first of all, is that, can you guess? We don't know. They will tell you that there are so many things we don't know. Let's see here. We're getting dangerously close to the anti-intellectualism here. If I continue here, those people will join it's like they can smell it from across the Atlantic, and they will join the chat and tell me that it's the Bible is the only book you need to read, and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. I'm just scrolling up a little bit. Sean says, why do white Americans seem so ashamed of their European heritage? My experience says it's the opposite. Americans will say that, you know what, I'm Norwegian. And they will say, I'm Norwegian because my great 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 grandfather was from Norway. So which is, it's a bit strange to hear that, but also, it's kind of nice too. So yeah. Yeah, it is interesting to look at, how mixed we are. And this is why I think that it's you encounter a problem when you do the race baiting thing. Like, I've always wondered, these people who, they have this in I know in the USA they have this, maybe some places in Europe as well. If you're black, you get extra points when you apply for the university, something like that. But how black do you need to be? Do they DNA test those people? Or, I mean, what is the definition of black or white? Or, because most of us are mixed breed. I mean, that's just the reality. We are a mixture of different ethnic groups, most of us. Um, and that's how it has always been, or at least it's been like that for hundreds of years. But of course, as we started traveling more, then we also mixed more between the groups. um, and I don't know, on my mother's side, I haven't seen that family tree, but I did see the family tree on my father's side. It was extremely Northern European. Um, so yeah, but it's uh, yeah, but we have. I'm sure there are some mixed breed into there. My father got a DNA test and it came back, and I've said this before because I thought it was so funny. Like 0.5% or 1% from the Amazon Delta, Amazon rainforest. And then sometime after I checked those numbers, and no, that's just it's too that percentage was too small to mean anything. It's just an error in the system. So, but up until then, I thought, how far back do you have to go? And maybe someone traveled there into the rainforest, and they found a wife in the rainforest in the Amazon forest. But no, that probably never happened. Yeah. um, yeah, I don't like the Orochi Fox there. I don't like the definition of race. I don't like that at all. Um, because also it's very difficult to define, unless we go into that Amazon rainforest and we find a tribe that has had very little contact with other tribes, and you could say that that's a race, I guess. But most of us, we are somewhat mixed breed. Um, uh, yeah. So, but that don't get me wrong here. I take immense pride in my cultural and genetic background, as a Norseman. Of course, I do. Just saying that it would probably be very difficult to find someone who has all his or her ancestors going back hundreds of years, here in Scandinavia. That would be difficult, you know. Do I look like I have some Celtic? But I do, actually. I do. Yes. Uh, let's see. Yeah. Okay. But I'm going to end yeah, you know what? My family came from, on my father's side, part of that family came from the British Islands, and they moved to Denmark in the 1500s. So 500 years ago, but yeah. I don't know if yes, I am actually Scottish, going back to actually King Malcolm II, according to that research that my relative did. So yeah, some Scottish there, but that's a long time ago. So yes, okay. Now, wonderful. Let me just add that if you are British, it's quite likely that you are just as Scandinavian or just as Viking as many, many people in Norway, at least in, Norway, because of the trade and connections there up through the centuries. The next powerlifting competition is on Saturday. I'm getting ready for that. It will be fun and quite something. Okay. Have a wonderful evening or morning, whatever it is, and we'll talk soon.